Overall thoughts about the group of offensive players coming to join you next year?
I love them. It's a relatively small class considering what it is that we brought in. We had to address some immediate needs at certain positions, and I thought we went out and did that, through the transfer portal. I thought we layered our guys. Really, I think we ended up with 4 high school kids that we signed, and feel really good about them, and how they can fit into the future here and what it is that we got. And probably a small class, by standards, the way it is, but that just shows what a good job we did the previous 2 years, kind of layering our classes. And so, obviously, we've got a big jump start on this next class, and trying to make sure that we can continue into the future. But I do think that as far as addressing the needs that we needed to and being able to celebrate this class, it's a fun day for that, fun day for them, and we really look forward to them joining our team.
When you look at the quarterback room, Coach Lashley gave a good report on Preston's recovery. You got him, you got Kevin, you got Keldrick, now you add Tyler Aronson. Nice problem to have, I'm sure, but to have that many quarterbacks with strong reputations and pedigree, is it tough to manage that many guys for one spot?
Historically, there's always some play into that. I think when we got here, we had 2 scholarship quarterbacks that we found, and it was hard to figure out which classes we're in, and so we've done a nice job correcting that, I think, over the last couple of years, where we got guys in different classes, and we really don't have a senior this year, which is nice. Got 2 guys that you can count on playing, and I think certainly as you progress through the course of the next couple of years, that guys are going to separate themselves, and guys are going to want opportunities to play in different ways. But I think that if you can balance out the classes where you're starting to spread guys out by years, then they at least see the vision and the hope of the opportunity to play at some point. And I think that we've done a good job collecting guys, local guys, and then even bringing in Tyler from Florida, and the better we get, we got a great one committed in this next class, and we got, so there's things that we've just got to, you'd like to be able to sign a guy every year, where you're looking, when you're building out a roster, you want to have 4 to 5 quarterbacks, you want them to be across multiple classes, so you feel like you got guys that can contribute to your team each year into the future, and I think that that's a big goal of ours 2 years ago when we got here, and I think that we've put ourselves in position where we've got really 2 experienced guys that do that, and then we've got good, subsequent classes having guys in those.
Coach Lashley mentioned Derek McFall as somebody who's a terrific athlete, who he said theoretically you guys could move around and play at different spots. How many guys do you see in this incoming group that could move to multiple positions for you if needed?
We got several guys that I think that do, and our offense is a very versatile offense, and so we like players that can contribute, like Roger Daniels, is a guy that you can line up at multiple different positions and do different things with. Certainly we think Derek is that. Getting Brashard Smith on our campus, I think he's probably as explosive a player as there was in the ACC last year, second team all-conference player that comes in, provides some of that similar versatility, that we're going to start at running back and figure out where he lands, but he's a touch guy that you find different ways to get him the ball, and obviously the return game will handle some of those touches for us, and just really excited. Anytime you can get a cluster of players like that, those are fun toys to have, because they are guys that can generate offense. It makes us a lot better coaches when they break tackles and score points that we don't necessarily put them in position to do, but they create themselves, and so that's fun. And so those are the immediate guys that come to mind without looking at the list about everybody that would come in, but obviously you can't build an entire team off of them, but you can see, the versatility of the San Francisco 49ers and different guys, different toys that they have that can line up in a number of different positions and do a number of different things for them without ever having to substitute, and they can give presentations of different personnel groupings, which I think is our number one goal, right, is to be able to play fast, is to not have to substitute and present a whole bunch of different personnel groupings and formations out of those. So anytime you get a guy like Derek who can give you just a ton of versatility, right, a multiple skill set that he's got, then I think that just strengthens our offense and the ultimate goal of being able to play fast.
You mentioned Brashard Smith. Obviously, he knew Coach Lashley and Coach Likens from Miami. And while you will graduate 5 or more receivers this year, You asked him to join a very crowded wide receiver room. How tough a sell was it to get him to come to Dallas?
Yeah, honestly, our initial sell was we got to get you into like a running back situation, so we wanted to put him in a place, and he does provide versatility that you can get him and throw it to him if you need to, but his initial charge is to go in there and help Jalen Knight and those guys and come in and be a guy that we can hand the ball to in those situations, also put him in position where we can throw it to him, and then obviously in the return game. So I think he had familiarity with the offense. I think that he knows. If you just look at the distribution of touches that took place last year on our team, I think we've talked at length about that through the course of the year, right? 8 different receivers with 30-plus receptions, more than 300 yards. You're talking about 3 different running backs with more than 5 yards per carry average. So we've proven that in this offensive system that we can distribute the ball even when they're laden with talent, and I think that's at the end of the day, it's a really good problem to have, right? Because you've got multiple guys that can contribute to your team. I think it actually serves them better from the standpoint that they get to play healthier, that they get to play fresher, that they get to play more explosive through the course of games, and it gives them opportunity to get touches when they're fresh, as opposed to, hey, my 14th catch in this game is, I think we ran into that 2 years ago a little bit with Rashee Rice, game 8. He's got his 9th catch in a game, and he's at 69%. Is a 69% Rashee Rice better than a 95% Moochie Dixon or whatever? When you start getting into those ratios, then I honestly think that if you've got a whole bunch of guys operating at 95% and they're all getting the opportunity to touch the ball and they're all getting the opportunity in space to prove what they can do and really put together quality film for the next level, then you can convince guys to come in there and we've got a track record of being able to, if you can help us win games and you deserve to touch the ball, then we're going to give you the opportunity to do that.
Pretty balanced class between transfers and high school. I think it was 13 transfers and 10 high school guys. Specific to your offense and particularly the offensive line, when you and Coach Justice looked at recruits, how much desire was there, if any, to get a couple of transfers in there who are just a couple years older, physically mature, maybe better prepared to step into that rotation?
Yeah, I think that we kind of have an exercise Coach Lashley has us go through, and if we were to name the starters for the first game of the year next year, right, and then their backups. So if we got our first 5 in the game and then we got our next 5 in there, if we feel like we got 10, then I don't necessarily think that you got to fill that with transfers. I think then you backfill it with freshmen, you get them to develop into those next 2 sets. But if there's a hole in there, man, I wish we had one more tackle, man, I wish we had one more interior player. That's kind of when you dive into the transfer portal, and we were able to evaluate that from that standpoint starting in October of last year, which is a little bit different picture of, right now we're talking about that first game and we're hungry about it, but in the middle of October last year, it's like, I don't even know who we're playing, so it's, but who's going to be in the game, and we got to make sure, this is what we know about him up to this point in the year, and we got to make sure that, boy, if all development went exactly like we wanted it to, then we would get to this point, by the end of next fall camp, and if we think that there's potentially a hole, then that's where you gotta plug that. I think that you have to have equal balance. I don't think that it's not a junior college. You can't farm a different team every single year, so you want to make sure that you are layering those classes, just like we talked about a little bit with quarterback question earlier, and make sure that you got enough seniors and juniors to complement those sophomores and freshmen that are coming in, and guys that can continue to grow into that 2 deep that we're confident with playing through the course of the year.